Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This is your host, Kushalmehra. So, we are a good 2 days away. 16th is when the G7 summit starts. It is in Canada. So, Daniel and I thought that it might as well have a little bit of a chat about what Canada expects from the G7. After all, Canada is going to be hosting, it's going to be in charge of this post for this year. As it happens every year, the leadership changes, one country or the other takes over. So mm, I have a lot of thoughts, but I want to start with what you feel. What should Canada expect from the G7?
Well, the episode and a lot of the takes I had get slightly changed by what happened last night. We had planned this, and then I'm not sure if you're aware, but something happened in the world that has caught the world's attention, and it makes this
But
G7.
it does matter, right?
Yeah,
Because
it does
Israel
matter.
Iran does matter at the G7.
It does, right? And so Israel has completely humiliated the Islamic Republic of Iran. I mean, what? I mean, I'm still wired. I was up late at night just following everything, and then I was up just, injected straight into my veins, straight geopolitical victories. All my enemies are dead. It's wonderful. But the G7 also becomes like possibly the first public appearance of sort of Donald Trump post this. Remember, Modi is invited. That's the big thing in Canada.
By the way, Prime Minister Modi literally just tweeted this. Received a phone call from PM Netanyahu of Israel. He briefed me on the evolving situation. I shared India's concerns and emphasized the need for early restoration of peace and stability in the region. He basically said, do what you want to do, but I'm going to tweet this.
Exactly. That's right. But so Modi is the big deal in coming to the G7 as the world leader that's invited. The Jagmeet Singhs of the world are very angry. But much more interesting now on a global thing is the other controversial invite to this G7,
Mohammed bin Salman.
Mohammed bin Salman. So Saudi Arabia, if you're not following, not huge friends with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Mohammed bin Salman's called him like the new Hitler and all that. Saudi Arabia had to condemn the Israeli strikes. This is just how it works. I'll put a press release, don't do this. But again, words and actions are a bit different. Saudi Arabia did, of course, help shoot down all the drones. And I know Mohammed bin Salman and Mohammed bin Zayed, the king of the UAE. If I knew those group chats were fire last night. Like, if I wanted to be like, I know it was probably the best parties were either in Saudi Arabia or the UAE, because the Israelis are probably still like wired and in on it, and they have to like brace for impact. And that's probably just like a hyped up Adderall like boys club. But if you wanted to party last night, then being in Riyadh was probably the place to be, because they are probably just schmammered right now, just partying. So this will be probably the first world public appearance for Mohammed bin Salman after this attack, and you'll see how these things, and we probably have a few more days of strikes. I mean, the Israelis have totally incapacitated the regime. I mean, they couldn't even launch a missile in return. They have total air domination, total counter battery availability. They built a friggin' drone base inside Iran to like, it's mind blowing. So the real interesting stuff here is, listen, the Modi stuff, there's going to be lunatics with swords screaming about Modi and saying nonsense, and that's going to be all fun and games, and we'll be there to cover that. And
We'll talk of that in the latter half. But listen, Prime Minister Anita and Foreign Minister, sorry,
foreign minister. Let's
Foreign
not jump the
Minister.
gun there.
No, that would be scary. No, she can't be Prime Minister. So I'll share her statement here. She's just made this statement.
Yeah,
She's the Foreign Minister of Canada. She says Canada is closely following the escalation of tensions between Israel and Iran. Further action risks triggering a broader regional conflict with devastating consequences. De-escalation must be the priority. We urge all parties to refrain from actions that further destabilize the region. The protection of civilians must be paramount. Canada remains deeply concerned by the threat posed by Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. Importantly, Canadians in the region are advised to exercise a very high degree of caution, monitor developments closely, and follow the advice of local authorities.
I think my response is the first one up. So think we can get my opinion on this matter if you just scroll down there.
We're talking. Yeah, I quote-tweeted her and said nobody takes Canada seriously.
And those missed it. I told her to sit down while the adults were talking. So this is the level of seriousness I treat Canada's foreign minister statements with. And that's probably the most pro-Canada person you'll meet on the internet. So yeah, the foreign minister is a bit of a ding dong. Like, he's better than Melanie Joly. I'll give her that. I'll give Anita on this. She is better than Melanie Joly. Very low bar to clear. She's not good at her job by any stretch of the imagination, but she's better than the last ding dong we had doing it. So this is kind of where Canada's at. Canada has no strong positions on anything, isn't a good ally anymore, is just waffling geopolitically, domestically. I mean, we're talking about giving the Americans like full right of refusal on every resource project. We're basically, Carney might actually make us the 51st state without any of the benefits of being the 51st state. Just we might be fully under American control, except we won't get the benefits of, we'll be under control of Washington, but we won't get any tax dollars and revenue distribution from Washington. None of the benefits of the 51st state, but all the drawbacks. That looks like that's Carney's economic plan for the United States. Elbows up, everyone. The interesting thing about the G7 from a world perspective is it's going to be the first time that all the world leaders are going to be together post this Israeli strike, because the Israelis say this is going to last a couple of days. So we're on June 13th now. And here's another thing about the Middle East. Dates are very important. Numbers, when things happen, how they happen. This to the Middle Eastern mind. This is 613. There's 613 mitzvot in the Bible, so it's a very Jewish number. Straight out of the Bible. This one. So that in the brain of the Ayatollah, that adds extra weight to this. Right? For them, it's like, whose God is right? So, as this great, terrible thing happened to us, it happened on a day synonymous with their God. Oh, that messes with their heads quite successfully. So we have potentially 2-3 more days of complete decapitation strikes, incapacitation strikes inside Iran. And then we have this G7 meeting. So it's going to be very interesting, because you'll have Donald Trump, you'll have Mohammed bin Salman, you'll have the coalition of useless Europeans with no spine or morals. So you'll Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron and Mark Carney will call for a 2-state solution to everything. But I think that's like the new storyline heading into the G7 is what's Mohammed bin Salman? What's Trump going to do?
This is what Trump said on X. I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest words to just do it. Sounds like a Nike ad. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now. This is so funny, and it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left, and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more deaths, no more destruction. Just do it before it is too late. All caps, by the way. God bless you all. Oh my God. Only Trump can write such stupid things on Twitter, and he's the president of the strongest country in the world.
Even not on Twitter, on True Social, and get someone to post it for him on Twitter.
Oh my God, it's so stupid.
Listen, there is no dealing with this regime. They don't make deals that lie. The Islamic Republic of Iran messed up bigly, real bigly, huge. They were offered a JCPOA 2.0. All they had to do was say yes. Then they could they didn't adhere to the Obama deal. They've never once adhered to the deal. They should have extorted America, signed some stupid deal, got billions of dollars from idiots like Trump and Witkoff, and then Israel would have been paralyzed to do nothing. But because big thank you to Ayatollah Khamenei for saving the world from Ayatollah Khamenei by being so stupid and slapping this down. His intransigence and inability to just, listen, hopefully there's no deal signed in the next couple weeks. I mean, if I was Khomeini right now, I'm calling Trump, yes, whatever you want, sign the deal, just sign it, sure, whatever. We'll give up the nuclear sites. We'll denuclearize, just give us billions of dollars to rebuild. And then we'll get back. Listen, if I'm Khomeini, I'm saying yes, denuclearize, whatever. Give some stuff up, and then just for a couple years, you take it slow, and then start to ramp up your take over the world army, nuclear arsenal, fund terrorism again. I would just go into hibernation for a few years and then restart the whole thing over again, because Trump might be stupid enough to let you do that. Right now, I mean, it's going to be hard. The Israelis have so much momentum that I don't know how. I mean, all Khomeini's friends are dead. All the top command is dead. They tricked the air. They knew where the Air Force commanders would meet to organize a counterattack, and then they blew it up. What's Khomeini going to do? Is if Israel has complete air domination, aircraft refuelers are flying over Iranian space, refueling the Israeli jets, dominating Iran. Israel has a drone station in Iran, and Israel basically has a de facto air base inside Iran. It's wild. This isn't Yemen that is a bunch of drugged up jihadi pirates who are relying on someone else's weaponry to cause chaos. This is the head of the snake, and they're completely incapacitated. I mean, if Khamenei tries to stick his head above ground and make a speech at a thing to blah 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 blah, kaboom! There's an Israelis the highest functioning military base inside Iran currently is a Mossad-controlled drone facility that popped up yesterday. It's wild. This is absolutely wild. I mean, the pager thing was so friggin' cool, and then you had the Ukrainians last week, 2 weeks ago. It's hard to keep time, pulling off what might be the most effective military strike in history. I mean, I think the page drop was cooler and a bit more difficult, but I mean, they took out a fifth of Russia's strategic bombing force. That was real, and then you could say that might have been the most effective military strike of all time in terms of this. And then the Israelis just completely two up that. I mean, this is insane how successful this is. The Israelis.
So I have the Prime Minister of England's statement also.
Oh,
the reports of these strikes are concerning, and we urge all parties.
No, you have to read it like a pansy-ass Brit. Can I take this over?
Escalation serves no one in the region. Stability in the Middle East must be the priority.
No. Poppycock.
And we are engaging partners to de-escalate. Now is the time for restraint, calm, and a return to. So it's very interesting. So even amongst the G7, Canada and UK are taking similar lines. America is like, we did not tell them to do it, but they are hitting them so hard. That means we told them to do it. I mean, I don't understand.
So I mean, I do think there was this is day 61 of Trump's original 60-day warning. That's when this is happening. So it does, the timing lines up for the Israelis to say, look, this is Trump said.
Oh, France has made a very mature statement. See, I'm because it's the G7, right? And we have to make all these statements. So France has made a very mature statement. France has said, France has repeatedly condemned Iran's ongoing nuclear program and has taken all appropriate diplomatic measures in response. In this context, France reaffirms Israel's right to defend itself and ensure its security. To avoid jeopardizing the stability of the entire region, I call on all parties to exercise maximum restraint and to de-escalate. Following the Israel strikes on Iran and its nuclear program, I convened the National Defense and Security Council this morning. All necessary steps will be taken to protect our nationals and our... So basically, the difference is France started with a pro-Israel statement and then said, now stop fighting. Others have done the complete opposite.
Yeah. So listen, I don't care what any Europeans say, and statements are statements, and I think statements are for geopolitical experts on TV. And I know sometimes I play a geopolitical expert on TV, but there's a difference between like TV world and real world. So all the statements are whatever. There's no way Israel should stop now. That would potentially lead to the actual war people have been fearing. There's a reason why Israel is maintaining kinetic force. One, you really want to cripple Iran's ability to respond. If Iran has less of an ability to respond, they're less likely to respond. If Iran doesn't respond harshly, then you don't have a larger war. So if your priority is to stop a larger war, the way you will guarantee a large-scale Iran-Israel prolonged shooting contest if the Israelis acquiesce to the demands of the UK, France, Canada to stop right now and play for diplomacy. The way that will be seen as, oh, the Israelis might hit good, but we can always get them in the diplomatic pressure game and keep the war going. If the Israelis stop at the request of the Europeans, it guarantees war. It guarantees a larger scale war. If the Israelis show that they don't care what a bunch of snooty Europeans have to say, they'll kill you anyway. If you threaten them, they'll kill you. That's the language that the regime speaks, and that will make them back down. Remember, Israel took out Saddam Hussein's nuclear reactor before he could build one. Did that result in the Iraqi invasion of Israel, or did Saddam Hussein shake his fist and then curl up in a corner and lick his wounds? Shook his fist, curled up in a corner, licked his wounds. When Israel took out Syria's nuclear reactive capabilities, did Syria launch an invasion of Israel, or did Bashar al-Assad sit in the corner and lick his wounds? Bashar al-Assad sit in the corner and licked his wounds. And now we're looking at the thing. When Israel takes out the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear capabilities, are they going to invade Israel, or are they going to sit in the corner and lick their wounds? And if this is done effectively, and if their nuclear capabilities are significantly destroyed or handicapped, they will sit in the corner and lick their wounds and shake their fist at the sky. I mean, Khomeini is already the entire Iranian response. The most effective Iranian response is just a Twitter storm from Khomeini's Twitter account. None of the drones made it into Israeli airspace, and they couldn't even get any. Israel has such total domination of Iran on land, air, and sea right now. They could not launch a single missile at Israel. Just a drone swarm, which none of them made it. And they were attempted to launch missiles, but Israel destroyed every missile and launch site that they tried to use before it could even fire. This is total domination, total humiliation, total incapacitation of Iran's ability to respond. So we're going to see a bunch of. It's going to be interesting also because you're going to see a bunch of Western leaders 3 days in. And the Israelis are going to probably ignore them. So you're going to have the Macrons, the Starmers, the Carneys, all the blustering, half-measure, two-state solution people. They're all going to be proven wrong, most likely, on the 16th. So you're going to have a bunch of Western leaders going into the G7 summit where all their fears about attacks and counterattacks don't manifest. Everything they've said is going to be proven wrong. And then you're going to have Mohammed bin Salman and Trump there. To see how that goes. So you're going to have MBS and Trump sort of on the more realistic, they're going to be so happy. One of their enemies just got hit. Then you have all the snooty Europeans who've just been proven wrong in Canada. Then add in Modi as like the centerpiece for all the screaming lunatics. And you got to...
But from a Canadian perspective, where does Canada stand in all of this? Like Canada needs to take a stand, right? Canada needs, or Canadians just come to terms with the reality that Canada is not a serious player in the geopolitical scene. Whatever America decides goes. Is that the conclusion?
I mean, Canada. A lot of Canadians, like if I were to go like to a urban area in Canada, I think most Canadians think that diplomatic strength is like we should release a statement and call for peace and reaffirm our commitment to a two-state solution. Like this is what a lot of Canadians think. A lot of Canadians don't understand the real world. They only understand, the European Union And everywhere is either France or Denmark or something. It's places to go on vacation, and they'll do war is bad stuff. I don't think there's really a thirst from the Canadian public to be real serious, deep thinking geopolitical players. I think most of the Canadian public at this point wants a two-sided, mealy-mouthed statement, so we can pretend we're doing diplomacy. I think most Canadians have no idea what foreign policy is, no idea what military strategy.
But 2-3 points here. Canadians need to understand that these summits matter, because forget the photo ops and all of that. Those are just bullshit, all right? But why these summits matter is what happens around the summit, right? Where leaders meet off the record, where basically all the deals are cut. Now, Canada is in an economic mess. Why aren't Canadians? I am trying to look at the coverage of the G7 summit in the Canadian media. I have been sincerely trying to cover every bit of it. I have been scouring the internet. I have been, and you know what? Can I just say this with full responsibility? I am disgusted. I am disgusted by the Canadian media, by the Canadian media's coverage of what the G7 is all about. So, is this the primary focus of the G7 summit and Canadian expectations? Okay, this is all right. They're having members of the World Sikh Organization come and they're covering this bullshit. I want to play this clip, okay, because it's important. Listen to this.
So just today, Global News has reported that a suspected agent of the government of India linked to the criminal Bishnoi gang was actively surveilling Jagmeet Singh, then a sitting MP and leader of a federal party, right here in Canada. And the credible risk to Jagmeet Singh's life prompted a duty to warn and active police protection. So let's let that sink in. India targeted a Canadian politician on Canadian soil. That's absolutely unprecedented. As far as we're concerned, that's an act of war. What other Canadian politician or leader has to carry the burden of representing his constituents, his party, but also protecting themselves from...
Okay, I call bullshit on this. First of all, the usage of the word act of war. What are you guys, morons or something? This is not an act of war. People surveil each other all the time. Do you know Canadians surveil Indian politicians in India?
Do you know that Americans surveil German politicians in Germany?
Yeah, America was bugging the German Chancellor's office. Oh my freaking Lord, you morons. What is this? Is this a serious country?
No
wonder people say this is the 51st state. You have morons like this coming on national television, embarrassing the fuck out of Canada.
Oh, Balpreet. Now, I've had one interaction with Balpreet Singh, and he was not honest in our interaction. So maybe that might shed some doubt on this wild story that he is coming out with. All right.
And the second claim that he says, oh my God, have you ever heard a Canadian politician who's gotten death threats? Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you many Canadian politicians who have received death threats. Do you guys remember Ramesh Sangha, who spoke against Khalistanis from Brampton?
He
got death threats?
Ramesh Sangha wouldn't walk into a Tim Hortons or anything in Brampton without like armed security scouting it first. Like he couldn't go to a Tim Hortons in Canada because he criticized Khalistan as a Sikh MP. That's just how bad it was. So like, listen, death threats aren't good. Don't give death threats to Jagmeet Singh. But if we're gonna like say, oh my God, because Jagmeet, who gets death threats?
There is no evidence
Literally
of
everyone.
Jagmeet Singh getting death threats.
Kushal gets death threats.
The article by Stuart Bell. See, Stuart Bell, if this is the standard of Canadian journalism, Stuart Bell is a dumbass. Okay? His last article was, oh my God, a Canadian who's a member of a kitty party club like Friends of BJP donated to the Conservative Party. Oh my God, Indian interference. This is the same guy who's written this article. Ramesh Sangha got death threats. The former premier of British Columbia, Ujjal Dosanjh, was beaten up black and blue. This is Canada. This is Canada. And they expect to be taken seriously? Like, really? Is this the Canadian standard? What are we just, it's insane how stupid Canada has become.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
What do we say?
Yeah. Although Canada also had a big victory last night. Over 100 Canadians from Montreal have been detained in Egypt and their passports taken because they were trying to join Gaza. And the Egyptian government is just like, no, fuck you guys, in jail. So all the jihadis can roam free on the streets of Canada. They got really hyped up, thought they could do it in the Middle East. And then the Middle Eastern countries like, no, you can't do this. Yeah, you're going to jail. You're going to an Egyptian jail. So that's pretty funny. That's the greatest counterterrorism operation in Canadian history, also coincides with the Israeli success, and it was just happened to be done by the Egyptian government, hilariously enough. Yeah, you're right. Canada's not a serious country on any of this, and again, like the reporting on Khalistan is like everyone just throws their brains out. Total failure of critical reasoning, researchability, journalism, you name it. But again, the fascinating thing is, I mean, we were supposed to do this conversation, and it's getting a bit hijacked by the geopolitical element because that's just what everyone's talking about, and it is huge and it does affect everything. But had the strike on Israel been delayed by 24 hours, and it didn't happen, we might be the only two talking about what are the implications for the G7? What are Canada's goals hosting a global summit in these challenging times? Because you want to have some goals. And like, listen, you're not going to sign a trade deal at the G7, but you're going to put framework in, and you have the leaders of different countries to expedite diplomacy, right? Because you're all in the same rooms together. There's pressure. Like, people want to come out with sort of a platform and going forward, and like, what are Canada's goals? And Canada's goals should be to get resources to market, to get some countries to commit to wanting Canadian resources. But I mean, right now, Mark Carney can't even decide if he wants to sell resources or go full Greta Thunberg. So you have a country that's really in flux. Mark Carney's taken every position in the book on everything. Economically, and listen, I hope he follows through on the good ones, but he's also promised to do the bad ones, and he's going to spend $1 gajillion more than Justin Trudeau. So it's not like we're being hit with some real fiscal responsibility right now. Immigration is ramping up and still out of control. So what should Canada's strategic aims be here? And I think one major one is you hope that Donald Trump has some positive and softening rhetoric towards Canada. Like, you're hoping he doesn't call it the 51st state and talks about future cooperation and some sort of potential resource deal. I mean, that's got to be a strategic aim going into this. But I think a realistic strategic goal for Canada is just not a total embarrassment with a bunch of lunatics running around Alberta ruining everything.
Yeah, and as far as Canada and this entire India-Canada affair is concerned, this is a direct statement. This is CTV News. RCMP commissioner calls cooperation with India over Nijjar killing good, focused on rebuilding relationship. I am directly quoting the RCMP commissioner here. And then this was, Tom Mulcair. This is what he had to say. Why we are discussing this is, listen, we have a problem here in Canada. We have a giant economic crisis. And this is how the former Canadian government dealt with the problem. I think this was a very interesting comment.
And Canada is in a unique position at this particular G7 meeting, actually, which is the 50th since it was established. Mark Carney has a lot of credibility on all of these economic issues, and we can't have an Indo-Pacific treaty and not be working with India. The Americans dealt with a very similar situation, by the way, of interference by the Indian government. They dealt with it in the normal way. Trudeau stood up on the first day of Parliament and blew it out. and this is the difference. I think that Carney is trying to establish that we can have partnerships with Europeans, with our NATO allies. We can have partnerships in the Pacific. We can work with other countries, including inviting China, despite the fact that we went through a whole issue involving foreign interference there. So I think that overall it's Carney being Carney. And I think that at the end of this G7 meeting, I think we'll be in a...
See, everybody, what my sentiment is, everybody seems to be, okay, Carney is mature, he's doing the right things. Okay, fine. Carney is being mature, he's doing the right things. I get all of that. But we have to go beyond Carney is mature, he's doing the right things. Like, what are the right things? What are the top 10 expectations? So I'll give you an example. So I follow the India-Canada beat, right? So I can give you now, as far as India-Canada is concerned, trade and the Khalistan bit is a very important segment of this. And you know, and I wonder always, you know, all these, this is a great thread, by the way, by Navdeep_UK, Navdeep Singh or Twitter. So G7 is around the corner. Look at this information, okay? So you have Khalistanis dressed up as you know, the ISI and Khalistanis are all together, and this is a long-standing collaboration. All right, in March 2019, Khalistanis and Pakistan's former senator Salma Atallah Jahan came together to spread venom against India at an event held within the Canadian Parliament. I repeat, within the Canadian Parliament. All right. In 2019, Pakistani national Ghazala Habib, leader of the anti-India organization Friends of Kashmir, collaborated with Six for Justice. Both groups approached USCIRF in the USA to advance their anti-India agenda. They didn't get far. In 2023 February, members of Dal Khalsa UK were invited by the Pakistani High Commissioner in the UK for a Kashmir human rights event. Human rights. Pakistan has always denied direct involvement in Khalistan movement. Its players can hardly contain their excitement. This is Raja Razak from Pakistan, president of the Pakistani American think tank and organization of PMNL Youth Wing USA. Look at it. He's so happy here. Look at his tweets. These are open admissions, okay, that this is Pakistani project. There are ISI spies and officers that have been spotted at Khalistani rallies. Now we know that these jackasses are going to be far away from the G7 summit, and they're not going to be allowed near the G7 summit. But that doesn't change the reality that they're still going to be protesting like a bunch of morons that they are. And it's going to mar the G7 summit, and it's going to create problems for Canada. Because if Canada wants, let's say, rare earth minerals, right? Canada has a lot of rare earth minerals, and India needs a lot of rare earth minerals. Now, for Canada and India to actually have a proper trade, these irritants have to be dealt with. What have we tangibly done as Canadians to deal with this problem?
Listen, I'll go back to it. Like, we talk about foreign interference, and I'm all there. Like, I'm not like, I don't want India or any other country running around. Like, listen, every other country is going to run around in our country. It's innate. Like, even our allies will spy on us because everyone just wants information, and what you do with it is really the thing. But Khalistan and the Kashmir stuff, this is a Pakistani psyop and foreign interference here. Where, and I get, listen, I think I was able to see this instantly for what it was. And because I'm Jewish and Zionist, and I see how, because terrorists cannot kinetically mess with Israel, right? If they try and shoot at Israel, they die. So the effective attacks on Israel are in the West, are in the narrative war, are in the complaining, and they use Western institutions as cudgels against the state of Israel, which then are used to undermine all other Western democracies. Same thing with Pakistan and India here. Pakistan knows they cannot take on India in a shooting war. We just had operations in India. We just had a very real life display of what happens if India and Pakistan actually start fighting. Who is stronger? India by far. So the most effective means of Pakistan to attack India is in the West on the narrative war, in destabilization, because India, like Israel, is kind of asleep at the wheel to these type of threats, because they prioritize the active military threats higher for good reason. I'm not saying that, but you have this entire Khalistan thing, the whole Hardip signature, his whole terrorist Gurdwara and all that. All of this, as I said, this is Pakistani foreign interference. So what we've done is, because we've enabled this in Canada by our soft on crime, laissez-faire attitude towards security and all that, we've created a battleground for different countries to have ideological and sometimes physical proxy wars in our country over crime. And like, again, if we're not going to enforce crime, so we're going to have an international drug syndicate running through us, you're going to want to get it, because that drug syndicate and immigration fraud scheme and all the dark money it produces can be used to launder money and use that to procure black market weapons and supplies running through South America and all that different type of stuff. So of course, like, Pakistan has figured out that the most effective launching pad for attacks on India is in Canada in the narrative war. So that's what we have, because we're enabling it. So again, I go back to my initial assessment from 2 years ago, is the whole Hardip Singh and Jar story is, it's a story of Pakistani foreign interference being sold as Indian foreign interference to distract from Chinese foreign interference.
I think Kirk wrote this wonderful tweet, a lot of good points here. He says, Mark Carney announces that Canada will meet NATO 2% target by March. Just wanted to share some information for Indians and Canadians. Canada has not spent 2% of its GDP on national defense. Guess from which year? 1987. That was when Brian Mulroney was the prime minister. That's when they did it, in 1987. And it once spent 4% during the height of the Cold War. Other than that, Canada has never met the 2% target. So Carney is committing to doing something which is unheard of. All right. Part of the increase in defense spending will include a 20% pay increase for military personnel. Liberals have tabled the bill C5 One Economy Act that they are trying to rush through, and has overreaching powers given to the federal government to fast track projects which they consider are in quote national interest. Canada's F-35 purchase grew by 50% to 27.7 billion and another 5.5 billion to reach full operational capacity. Auditor General of Canada says there is a massive incompetence and corruption in federal government service procurement. Prince Rupert gas transmission pipeline has started. Total value of building permits fell to 11.7 billion in April, down by 16.4% on constant dollar basis. Residential construction intentions have declined by 11.6%. Annual declines in rent costs were 7% in Ontario, 6% in Vancouver, 10% in Calgary. Mostly only 40% of top income earners in Canada have been able to save this since the pandemic. Save anything, basically. Household saving rates have declined for a second quarter to 5.7%. Rise in household spending outpaces disposable income. Household debt service ratio is 14.4% in Q1 2025. Household debt to disposable income ratio grew 173.9%. Fuck. Consumer retail spending increased 0.7%. RBC's GDP growth revised higher to 1.3% in 2026 because of expanded deficit spending. Canada's gross external debt increased by 99.1 billion to 4.65 trillion in Q1 2025, and I'm assuming it's what I can't read it properly here, which is 146.5% of GDP and up to 137.5% of the year before. Manufacturing sales declined 2.8% month over month, which is the largest decrease over a year. And we are heading into the G7. These are good numbers that one can analyze and ask oneself that what should be the priority of Canadians, because as of now, honestly, what bothers me is this seems to be the Canadian priority. Okay, the Canadian priority seems to be gangsters running all over the place and threatening Canadian businesses. So this is a post of Goldie Dillon. Now, people might ask, who the hell is Goldie Dillon? Okay, Goldie Dillon is the associate of Lawrence Bishnoi gang, and he has claimed responsibility in a Facebook post for the shooting at Reflection Banquet Hall in Surrey. The target was Satish Kumar, owner of the hall and the president of the Lakshmi Narayan Mandir. Literally, people are claiming this on the Facebook posts. These are gangsters openly writing and claiming. It's insane. It's like I have lost my brain. This is happening in Canada. People need to understand the seriousness of these things. Okay, and we are heading into the freaking G7 doing what? Like, are we a serious country anymore? Forget that. Look at the amount of arrests and look at the crimes. We have a problem. Okay, nobody wants to invest any money in Canada. This was reported by Nitin Chopra, who's a good journalist in Brampton. Maninder Singh, 23, and Teerath Singh, 24, of Brampton, arrested and charged for keeping firearms, altered serial numbers for trafficking, and heroin. This was the report detail by Peel Regional Police. Also, he's quoting the Peel Regional Police. What is happening over here? And then obviously, I don't know if you saw this news by CTV. I mean, what is happening here? What the hell is happening?
What's going on?
Recognize this man. Suspect sought in Abbotsford sexual assault. Why are we not serious about this stuff? And we are hosting the G7, for fuck's sake.
Canadians don't want to think about scary things. Again, the number one priority for most Canadians is to feel morally superior to Americans. So when crazy stuff in Canada starts happening and stuff that doesn't happen in the States because the States will enforce the law, most Canadians want to bury their head in the sand and not talk about it. Either fears of being called racist or this or that or general cowardice. But again, like, this is also our mainstream media ecosystem is very bland. It's all CTV is global, is CBC. They all have the same opinions and everything. So there's no like Fox News foil to CNN here, where, you know, Fox News would cover like a bunch of terrorist illegal immigrants committing sexual assault and whatever. Like, they would be like, breaking news, this is bad, murderers and rapists running free. You don't have anyone in Canada, in Canadian media, mainstream media, who would be like, oh my God, terrorists are raping and murdering with impunity, this is bad. All of it would be, allegedly, no one, all of them would run some sort of narrative defense for it. So you have that, which presents a problem. And again, there is a natural unwillingness of the Canadian public to deal with scary thoughts. And I mean, Kirk's tweet started off pretty good. Like, I'm down with the 2% military spending. I think all the people maligning the F-35 are idiots. They've been proven wrong once again. Like, sorry, the F-35, Western tech is far superior to Chinese tech and far superior to Russian tech and Iranian tech, whatever. Like, Israel's like small fleet of F-35s just are dominating Iran right now, dominating. So, don't tell me that, the F-35 is obsolete and whatever. Drones, look at the Chinese drone show. So I like that, right? We're going to have a military. We're going to have an air force, which we need. That was all good. But then the rest of the country is a complete mess. And we can have a country if we just decide to sell resources to market and build the pipelines. Then we have a country, and we're moving, we're having a good time. But right now, Canada's biggest enemy is Canada. And until Canada can defeat Canada and save Canada from Canada and get Canada an economy, then Canada's screwed. And we're not sure what side Mark Carney stands on, the side of Canada or the side of lunatics in Canada. And he's still kind of wishy-washy between the two. And there's some hope that maybe he wants an economy, maybe he doesn't. But again, this is Canada's number one enemy is Canada. And if Canada can get it of Canada's way, Canada can be a great country.
Canada can be a great country. 29-year-old Mississauga man faces new charges after being connected with attempted murder kidnapping investigation. The name is Mohammad Asif, a 29-year-old from Mississauga. I mean, what the hell? And it doesn't end, okay? What really got to me, this was reported in Indian news first. I was not sure, but now even Canadian journalists have reported about it. This is Baba Siddiqui, okay? This is a politician from Mumbai. Baba Siddiqui was a politician from Mumbai in Bandra West. He's a member of the former member of the Legislative Assembly. He was murdered last year by Zishan Akhtar, basically Jassi Purewal, who's been allegedly arrested in Canada. Now, I don't know. Some say it is not. Some say it is real. This was reported in Indian media. He fled abroad with the help of Pakistani Don Shehzad. Why are these people going to Canada?
Because it's a safe haven, and we accept the world's terrorists, murderers, and rapists because we don't.
Dude, it is embarrassing.
It is, but it's not embarrassing if you never talk about it. That's sort of the plan of most Canadian urban liberals.
So that is our foreign policy. La 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 la.
Yeah, and domestic policy. Yeah, you hit it. La 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 la. Yes, that's if I can get you in a meeting with Mark Carney, Anita Anand, Francois Champagne.
I'm not even ended.
Yes.
I want your opinion on this. Did you read this Project Pelican report? Oh my God. Drug smugglers arrested after using commercial trucks to transport cocaine across US borders, says Peel police. 500 kgs of cocaine was seized and 9 people. This is worth reading, Dan. And 9 people are in custody following a year-long probe into a group of alleged drug traffickers who police say use commercial trucks to smuggle cocaine across the US border into Canada. The investigation, dubbed Project Pelican, led to the largest drug seizure in police services history. Look at these. I'm going to leave this picture up for everyone to see. All right. This is a report of CTV News. This is too much now. We all know who's doing this, why it is happening. Look at the names here. How Tommy Hune, Arvinder Pawar, Gurtej Singh, Karamjit Singh, Manpreet Singh, Sartaj Singh, Shiv Onkar Singh, Philip Tepp, Sajgeet, Yogendra Raja. It's ridiculous. 5 names are Singh. We've been saying this from ages, that the truckers, there is a segment inside the trucking and logistics industry in North America, especially Canada, where the Khalistanis have infiltrated. This is how they fund their crazy ops. The Pakistanis work in cahoots with them. This is a cozy agreement, and they have shifted their ops in Canada is because India cooperated with America. So, and the Mexicans also cooperated with America. So they've shifted their ops to Canada for a long time.
Yeah, and let me tell, for Canadians who go, oh, the Khalistan, I don't give a shit, man. Let me explain how the Khalistani infiltrate the trucking industry and why you should care. Okay. They bring in a bunch of stupid fake refugees. Now, in Ontario, there's like a bunch of fake trucking schools where you don't even have to be a permanent resident of Canada, where you can come on a visas visit for India, get a trucking license, then come there and back, and then pretty much work as a scab trucker. Now, so you have these sort of unqualified truckers who just get rubber stamped and like, here's a license. So now you have a bunch of just random people from Punjab who don't know how to drive an 18-wheeler, and they're just zooming around the countryside. And this is why BC is so dangerous, because none of the truckers there know how to drive in the mountains or BC, and they've been rubber stamped. And especially on Ontario, who's the Minister of Transportation in Ontario? Khalistan. Okay, so you have all these illegals coming to the trucking industry. They don't care, something. All these people, they then are undercutting the market of the real truckers. So if you care about, I care about Canadians. Canadians drive trucks. Canadians who drive trucks are qualified truckers, because in order to drive a massive 18-wheeler, you have to be qualified to drive it because it's a danger to it. Like What happened when an unqualified truck driver who was rubber stamped with a fake trucking driver's license met a humble bus crash where a Canadian hockey team was hit and a lot of the kids died and some of them. Okay. It's not only that there's a bunch of unqualified people flying around the streets. They're undercutting the market of the legitimate trucking companies. And in a recession economy, in a tight economy, if you want to get your goods from point A to point B and you want to do a truck, a lot of companies are switching to these Khalistanis truckers because they have a bunch of people that are working on slave labor conditions because they're on phony bullshit paperwork that is being supported by the company. So they have little, tents, like it's like Qatar. Qatar has sort of like housing lodges for all the slaves. We now kind of have slaves. And we call them, foreign migrants, and they come in and they're enslaved by the Khalistanis. And like you have 12 truck drivers who drive 2 trucks and they're paid below wages, and you undercut the market of the normal Canadian trucker. And that's how the Khalistanis gain a foothold in the economy, is by undercutting regular Canadian business, taking them over it. And then they make tons of cash. Now, if you want to make real money as one of these truck drivers and you don't want to be living in the slave huts, then you become an actual gangster. So now if you get into the cocaine racket, the fentanyl racket, the actual drug racket, so you're still an unqualified trucker, but you're getting paid a more living wage to be a gangster. So either you could be a slave and undercut the Canadian trucking industry as a slave laborer. You can live in your little housing unit, and then you can go in your truck and then back and forth with, sharing with 12 other guys, or you could become a criminal. And get a higher salary that way, and then be part of an international drug smuggling ring. So this is what the Canadian economy is right now. This is why it matters to you, and this is what happens when you have an overly permissive society that doesn't want to deal with scary thoughts, that doesn't want to enforce the law, that doesn't want to be accused of being racist for breaking things up, and this is the end result.
Yeah, the end result is not pretty. The end result is that Canada has become a joke, and I want to remind people again, the alleged killer of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founder of Bangladesh, lives in Toronto. People need to remember this. All sorts of Looney Tunes live in Canada. Until now, they've been cocooned and the average Canadian did not care. This is why Daniel, myself, and some of us came together and we decided to host this conference, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we did it.
Yep.
This is why we need to educate Canadians about the culture of national security. So Canadians, please join us on 29 June 2025 for United Against Extremism, a unique national security conference. Please join us. Join us. Register. You see the QR code over here. You can easily do that. You see the link in the live stream. You can come and register. These things matter. Please don't take this lightly. I don't understand why Canadians are so lax when it comes to these issues, or Canadians have basically resigned to the fact that one day America is going to take us over and that's our destiny. I don't know what the answer is. I am a national security hawk, whether it's Canadian national security or Indian national security. I'm a hawk on both. I care about the safety and security of both countries. Clearly, I am a retard by Canadian standards.
Welcome to the club.
What else am I supposed to say? I sound like a retard who cares about Canadian national security concerns. You have to.
Yeah.
And Canadians have to start caring about these things. So all the Canadians who watch this, you see this QR code? How about this? I will share the image itself so that it's easier for all of you.
I think you put the link. I think you put the link to the registration in the comments as well. I might have saw that.
Yeah, I did. And this is the link. It'll make your life easier. Scan this QR code. I want to thank the Canada India Foundation and Tafseek for coming together for Canada. There are some people who care for Canada. Apparently, others don't. So scan this QR code, or you have this link right here. I've posted it again in the live. This is the link. Go on this link, register yourself. I repeat, your ID will be checked over there because it's a national security conference. We want serious people. We don't want a bunch of dumbasses over there. Register. Do you have anything to say about how wonderful the national security culture of Canada is, Daniel?
Listen, what we're going to do on that day is probably going to move Canadian national security interests forward 10 years in a conservative estimate. Well, listen, I would encourage everyone to register and everyone to go. There's going to be a lot of great panels and people there. Yes, Kushal and I will be speaking at this event. If you're wondering, will we be in fancy suits? Well, does Kushal own a suit? Maybe. We'll find out. Will Kushal's wife force him into a suit? You can bet on Polymarket on that. But if I will be wearing my big boy clothes, there will be samosas available. Listen, I think this is incredibly important timing. We now have a government that's wanting to spend in the military. That I think Canadians have real. I think the average Canadian is not stupid. The self-inflated liberal urbanite is stupid. The 110 IQ sort of head in the sand person, but most Canadians are starting to wake up to the realities of all these things, and I just think they don't have an outlet. And they feel kind of gaslit because no one is taking this seriously, the concerns, because everyone's kind of shell shocked. So I think it's important to come to this conference because this is not, a shell shocked, deer in the headlights type move. I mean, I think this is an active attempt to combat the issues that we're facing as a country. So come, bring your phone, record what you want, post what you want. This conference is for the people. It's meant to be public. This is not a tidy, only experts and fancy people allowed in. National security is so complicated, the plebs can't understand it. What I like about this is it's saying that, listen, national security, it is important, but it's not something so foreign and hyper complex that the average Canadian can't understand. I think the average Canadian can understand these issues and actively engage in them. And I think sending that type of message is really important. So come on the 29th. It's there. I mean, it's free. So, I mean, this is good on that tough seeking Canadian finish. If you're like, listen, this is for the cause. If people are putting this on to help the country, and I think you're going to get a ton out of it. There's going to be great speakers and great learning experiences. That, I see no reason not to come. So come, scan the QR code, register, and yeah, I'll see you there on the 29th.
Yeah. Let's take questions and then we can get the hell out of here. Can we do anything to increase Canada's awareness? This is, I'm assuming, an Indian member asking.
Yeah.
This is such a desperate question. How can we help?
So, I mean, we're going to go back to the conference. I mean, like, we're trying. We are trying. We're running a conference. We're online. We're doing a podcast. Like, I've been trying to listen. If I have to physically go around to all 40 million Canadians and remove their head from the sand and make them stare at reality, I'll do it. I'll do it one by one. This is the conference is a mass red pilling attempt to sort of expedite the process. But if I have to go one by one and force everyone to look at reality, I'll do it.
Seriously, I mean, it's just depressing. Okay, this is again good because we are on. India should do more trade with Canada. This will infuriate Khalistanis and they will turn it and cut themselves inwards. Listen, I agree that the only way out of this is, I think, Indo-Canadian trade eventually has to reach such a high level that both countries can't fight with each other. That's the only way out of this.
When there's enough money on the line that when the Khalistanis say, hey, we'll offer you $2 million to destroy all your principles, Pierre, and become a proxy for Pakistan. He goes, oh, money. At some point, there has to be enough money where he goes, $2 million. No, I'm not going to risk $50 billion for $2 million. I think that's, economic leverage over Canada and for Canada is good, but we have a long way to go there. Like, listen, I'm all down for free trade with allied democracies. It's one of the building blocks of the modern world in the West and the success of it. So hopefully we can get back to basics and start fighting our enemies and cooperating with our allies instead of fighting with our allies and cooperating with our enemies. I mean, it's a bit of an inverted world we got here, but a man can dream.
So one question that has been bothering every Indian citizen
Just
is
one
the
question.
safety of Prime Minister Modi
Oh, fair
at
enough.
the G7. That is a real concern. Listen, this is a country where we have already lost a prime minister to the Khalistanis.
Mhm.
Canada is now Khalistan Central. Now, I'm not going to lie. I will be the first one to say that I won't say I'm not worried. I'm always, wherever my prime minister travels, I will be worried. But don't you think as Canadians, like, this should be a shameful thing that like a prime minister is coming to this country and the citizens of that country are really petrified about the safety of their prime minister? Is this what we've come down to? Is this the optics that a G7 deserves?
Yeah, I mean, like, Canadians will just deal with this by ignoring India's concerns. So I do think Modi has legitimate security concerns, and I don't think the Canadians are going to address them in any serious manner. India should hire private security, and their own, like, India should 100% rely on the security they provide to Modi. And if the Canadians want to provide anything else, that's window dressing. That those are toy soldiers. I would not trust the Canadian security apparatus to provide security for Modi. If I was the Indians, I would spend, if it has to be like $100,000 or something, or 250, whatever the security budget is for Canada. I wouldn't skimp out on it. I would get some, private security, bring in some, military, whatever the Indian version of, who are the Secret Service. I would bring a full battalion of them. Because I don't think you can rely one bit on the RCMP, CSIS, any Canadian Police Department to do their jobs effectively, or to monitor any serious threats. I don't think they have anyone monitoring the situation who speaks Punjabi, where most of the threats are probably being made. I think, they might have someone speaking Hindi monitoring the Punjabi speakers because that's a brown people language and it goes bluga, 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 bluga. What's the difference? I wouldn't be surprised if that's the response of like the Calgary PD or something. I am worried about that the Khalistanis or whoever will try something on Modi. And if Modi is listening right now, the Indian diplomatic corps is listening, I would not rely on the Canadian security. I would make sure that the security you can provide for yourself is sufficient to make you comfortable, and then use whatever Canada provides as extra.
Yeah, so from what I understand is there is an entire area that is going to be cordoned off. That is what I have understood. And these lunatics are going to be in Calgary, whatever their weird Looney Tunes thingy is that it's just such a weird. So this is what the flyer I have seen. This was shared by journalist V. So he shared this. Oh man, it's just. I mean, these things are publicly available, so it's not like I'm creating something. So this is journalist V. After entry at the G7 venue, Kananaskis was restricted. Canada-based Six for Justice group will be conducting their sham protests in Calgary. Last year, city property was used to conduct an event dedicated to the Air India bomber. This was last year. Why such ugly graphics, man? That's my biggest pet peeve. The graphics are so ugly that's what bothers me. It seriously does.
For what?
I'll show it to you. Look at the ugly graphics.
Okay, I thought you meant for the
No, this one.
Like
this one. I was just changing.
Yeah, okay, I figured you meant this. Yeah. Hey, lunatics. I mean, this is ambush, Modi, politic, ambush. I put a target over.
But look at this. Look at the symbolism. This is what? Look at it purposely. They have put a Hindu tilak, the religious. There is so many layers to the bigotry.
Mhm.
It's anti-Hindu. It's clearly putting a target on the prime minister because the symbolism is a sniper rifle.
It's so funny that they have like the poster inside the poster, like they have a poster of their poster is their
Mhm.
poster. Like this is Inception on
Inception.
terrible graphic design. This is
Inception.
Inception on the terrible graphic design. Like it's so funny. It's so funny. Like they have their top of I mean, God bless us.
It's
with
embarrassing.
these
It's
imaginable-
embarrassing. Canada doesn't realize how much they are being embarrassed at the global stage. It's actually kind of disgusting that Canadians don't realize this. Oh my goodness. Anyways, we'll wrap up now, and once again, a reminder to everyone who wants to visit United Against Extremism, the National Security Conference, Sunday, June 29th, 2025, Paramount event space. All the details are also there in the description of this podcast. If you want to support this podcast, you can do it in multiple ways. You can send direct donations to Daniel. His PayPal is there in the description. You can send money if you're in Canada to me through Interac Canada. The email ID is kushalmehra81@gmail.com. The UPI ID for Indians is kushalmehra@icici. You can also join the membership program on YouTube or on Patreon. Both the links are there in the description. You can also buy Cārvāka podcast merchandise. You can buy my books. Everything is there. Also, remember, this podcast only runs on these kinds of small donations, one time, or memberships. We don't do ad reads over here. And also, I once again urge all of you, if you care about Canadian national security, do join us in this conference on the 29th of June, Sunday. We care about Canadian national security, and Canadian national security is also a threat to other countries and their national security. Whether it's America, whether it's India, whether it's Israel, a lot of these issues are interconnected. We are living in a global world. Also, if you have not subscribed to the Cārvāka podcast, do it right now. Like this video, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're an audio listener, do consider leaving a rating in your preferred audio platform. Daniel and I, we will see you next time. Until then, this is Kushal Mehra and Daniel Boardman signing off from Canada. Take care. Bye-bye. If there is a God, may he bless Israel. Bye-bye.